All right, so lesson 5-6 has the learning objective or learning intention that you can use properties of 45, 45, 90 special right triangles to determine missing side lengths. So in the last lesson, we talked about 30, 60, 90 triangles, and they have 3 separate equations. That's because there's 3 different angles, 30, 60, and 90. Here, there's 2 unique ones. There's 45 and there's 90, which means there's 2 unique formulas. The interesting thing about 45, 45, 90s is that because these angles are the same, that means the side lengths across from them will also be the same. So that's why over here, we have the formula x and x. They're the same because these angles are the same. The simple way to remember this, I guess, is that legs are x and the hypotenuse is x root 2. So you would, if you put this all together, you do something called solving the triangle, which means all 3 sides, all 3 angles are labeled. So we would put x root 2 on the hypotenuse, x, and then 45 degrees, 45 degrees, and then this 90 is already marked. Okay, so similar to the other day, except it's just there's only 2 different things to remember instead of 3. So again, what does it mean to solve a triangle? Same thing it did before, all angles and sides are calculated. So as we go through these problems, what we want to do is a little bit of pre-thinking. So like, what do we have? So in this case, do we have a leg or a hypotenuse?
A leg.
We do, yes. Legs are the 2 that make the corner. They're the 2 sides that make that 90-degree angle. So we do have a leg. Is it pretty or is it ugly? It's a weird question, but I would say it's pretty. It's just a plain 7, which is nice. So this one is pretty. So that means we're going to make an ugly side. It's especially true in the 45, 45, 90s, where if you have something pretty, you make something ugly and vice versa. So if we solve these triangles, what are these angles going to be? How many degrees are those?
45.
Yep. So we got 45, 45, and then the 90 is already there. Okay. Now, what is this side going to be? Struggling here, guys. I'm sorry. Oops. So what you'll notice is that these are the same. So that side is going to be 7 as well.
Miss Nina?
Yeah.
I can't hear Miss Frederick.
Okay.
So she's told me to go to the other Google Meet.
Oh, okay. To Miss Sophia's Google Meet?
Yeah.
Okay. Miss Sophia, I'm going to send Mumtaz over to you. Is that okay? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, we're going to do 5-4 again.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, Mumtaz, we'll do it.
Mumtaz, there's the link. Thank you, Miss Sophia.
Yep.
There's the link for you, Mumtaz. Okay. So these 2, the legs are always going to be the same in a 45, 45, 90. And then what happens in the hypotenuse is you have the formula x square root 2. So what is x, you guys? What is x?
7.
Yep. So it's going to be 7 times the square root of 2, which is like, I don't know. Let's see what 7 times the square root of 2 is. like almost 10. So that's how long the hypotenuse would be. So now this is solved. We've solved that triangle because we have all three sides labeled and we have all three angles. Okay. All right. So next one, do we have a leg or hypotenuse?
Hypotenuse.
We actually have a leg. The hypotenuse is going to be, this kind of points to it. It's like an arrow. This one's the hypotenuse. So this one is a leg because it's just the X. So you guys, what is this one going to be? How long is this side?
3.
Yep, 3. They're always going to be the same. Now the hypotenuse, that one, it's a little hard because I tilted it, so it makes it confusing looking. But if you look across from the 90-degree angle, that's the hypotenuse. So the formula is x root 2. Well, again, you guys, what's x?
3.
Yep. So this becomes 3 square root 2. So we have side, side, side. We have all three sides. And then what are the degrees? What are the angles measured?
45.
You got it. All right. So now let's look at the next one. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. On the previous one?
Nah.
Oh, okay.
On the quiz. I'm
Okay.
doing the quiz as you go on.
Okay.
And okay, for E and D, it would be the same, right? For question 1.
I don't know off the top of my head, but if they're both legs, then yes.
Okay.
Okay, so in this one, do we have a hypotenuse or a leg? In this one.
Hypotenuse.
Yep. And the hypotenuse formula is x root 2. So what's x? What is x?
4.
Yeah, because it's just the thing in front. Everything else matches. So that means if x is 4, that means this side is 4 and this side is 4. What are the angles? What are the angles?
45.
45s, yep. Okay. Next one. Do we have the hypotenuse or a leg? Sorry, you guys. My dog sees a dog on TV. Do we have a hypotenuse or a leg?
Hypotenuse.
Yes. This one's super tricky because I flipped it, but if you draw an arrow like that, it points at the hypotenuse. So this is the formula. That means what is x? What's x?
11.
So that means this side's 11, this side's 11, and these angles are both 45. Okay. So the first one was I give you a leg and it's pretty. The second one is I give you the hypotenuse, it's ugly. This is the bad scenario, in my opinion. The bad scenario is if you have a pretty hypotenuse, because you can't just, like, up here it was really simple. You could just pull out the 11. Just say, oh, well, this and this match, so it's 11. So instead, I'm going to show you how to do this one time, and then I'll show you the shortcut. So what we would have to do here, since this is the hypotenuse, we know these are 45, so let's just get that out of the way. If we solve for x, because these are x, we need to know what x is. What you need to do is divide by square root 2 on both sides. And in math, it's grammatically incorrect to put a square root on the bottom. So you guys don't need to know how to do this right now. I'm just showing you that this is where it comes from. you need to multiply by a sneaky form of 1. And then this becomes 8 square root 2 over 2. But really, it becomes 4 square root 2. Okay, so I'm going to pause here in a second. You don't need to know how to do that. This is x. What is the relationship between 8 that we started with and 4 that we ended with? What is that relationship?
It's half.
It's half. So if you have like, if it was like x square root 2 equals 100, then x is going to equal 50 square root 2. The point is, if you have a pretty thing to begin with, your answer is going to be ugly. Here it was ugly to begin with, so we ended with pretty answers. Here it was pretty to begin with, so we ended ugly. So in this one, we have a pretty thing to begin with. That means when we're done, it's going to be ugly. So what is half of 13?
$6.5.
Good. So we have 6.5 root 2, 6.5 root 2. Decimals are weird, so if you guys wanted to do 13 over 2 in this instance, like that's fine. But just for ease, if you have a pretty hypotenuse for the 45, 45, 90s, you can just cut the number in half, okay? So let's look at this one. Here we have a leg. What is this one going to be?
Five.
Yep. And what's this other one going to be, the hypotenuse?
Which one?
This one.
Five.
5 square root 2. It's 5, 5, 5 root 2. They just match. So this one, we have this ugly thing to start with, which means we're going to create some pretty ones. So what is x?
Seven.
Yep, so that means this side 7 and this side 7. Just one more before I cut you guys loose. Let's say we had 22, and this is 45, 45, 90. What is the length of the leg going to be?
11.
11 square root 2. 11 square root 2 on both of those. So with these, if you have a nice number here, just cut it in half.
That was
What's that? Cut it in half and add the square root 2 at the end. And that's it. Okay?
Nina, when I do these,
Yep.
I have 2 angles that are the same so that I know that the number in the square root is 2. And when you do 3 angles that are different, the number inside is 3.
So what she's saying is, since there's only 2 different angles, that means you're going to have just 2 different solutions. It's just a way to remember it.
I think it's an easy way. I'm
Yeah.
going to go then, Nina, unless you need me.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
Miss Sophia.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yep, so she was saying there's two different angles, which means you're going to have 2 different looking solutions. Yesterday, there were 3 different angles, so you have 3 different looking solutions for side lengths. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.